Well, my first stint at the Chamber started in 1988. My first memory of Ginger was going in there to drop off my resume. I still remember the image of that in the old building, Ginger sitting like a sentry in front of Austin's office, keeping people out. And it always came to mind because early on in my tenure there, I read a management book and it talked about organizational structure. And one of the things it said about structure of an organization is don't always assume that the organizational chart identifies who the power structure is, because the person who is in charge might be the president, but the next most powerful person is the gatekeeper. And Ginger is the consummate gatekeeper at the Chamber. You know, over the course of time, people talk about comings and goings, and at what point, for example, am I going to be stepping away from this position? And I've been in Ginger's company when that's been asked, and I know someone turned to her at least once, more than once, and said, "So Ginger, are you going to continue on after Bob's gone?" And her answer is always, "Oh no, I'm not going to train another one." Ginger's lasting legacy is a great question. There's so many different ways in this can go, but I think for me, the first thing that jumps out is her incredible institutional memory. There are so many funny stories about where we're sitting around talking about something that happened with the Chamber 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and a name is brought up and Ginger will tell you exactly who that person was, what company they were with. And even funnier are the times when you're sitting there and something pops up and there's sort of a pause. You can't remember who that was. And she'll pop up, go into her office, come back in like 30 seconds with either a newsletter or minutes of some meeting and say, "Oh yeah, that was Joe Smith. He was the CEO of such and such company." She not only knows all of this stuff, she knows where to find it. And the old joke is that not only does she know where the bodies are buried, she buried a few of them herself.
Oh, probably that she was a force of nature. Ginger was at the Chamber for 10 years by the time I showed up, and she was already well established, very efficient, and she kind of ran the office staff there. So yeah, she was impressive when you first met her. She was impressive after you first met her as well. As a matter of fact, the longer you knew Ginger, the more she impressed you. Ginger led the Chamber into 20th century technologies, and now she's led the Chamber into the 21st century as well.
And my impression of Ginger is that she really runs the Chamber of Commerce. And I would joke with both Austin and Bob that I can't foresee the day that she's not there. I think Ginger's legacy at the Chamber is how she made everyone feel so welcome. When you retire, I would hope someday when I retire that no one remembers my title, but they remember how they made you feel. And she always made me feel welcome, and she always made me feel that I was important. I just want to wish you the very best in your retirement. You truly affected hundreds, if not thousands, of people during your tenure at the Scranton Chamber, and I just want to wish you the very best in retirement.
I think that Ginger has been the sort of the face of Girl Scouting in Northeast Pennsylvania. Has been there since she was, a kid. She was a Girl Scout and then came up through and became a Girl Scout leader. All the girls were her daughters. As I said, all the leaders came from her troop, and they all just had such an attachment to her. Oh, I just wish Ginger all the best. I'm so glad that she's getting a chance to retire and enjoy her life without work, but I know she'll still be involved in Girl Scouts, so she's not going anywhere.
The first time I met Ginger was at my first Slibco board meeting. I walked in the boardroom and noticed that there were 3 women, me, Nancy Jackson Matthews, and Ginger. So obviously I sat right across from Ginger because everybody else was guys. So first she smiled and introduced herself, and I introduced myself, and first thing I noticed when the meeting started is she was taking shorthand. She's still the only person I know who takes shorthand. And just so efficient, and the meeting proceeded, and she's taking all these notes, and when Austin kind of made a mistake, she would gently but firmly kind of get us back on track, which is what she would do in like the 25, 30 years of Slipco meetings I've attended. And I think Ginger's legacy is in the hearts of many, many scouts who've been at camp, who were in her troop, who are the recipients of scholarships. They may not know her name, some of them, but they've been touched by her generosity of spirit and time.
What do I admire the most about my sister? She is my compass, and she always has been. When I'm trying to find my true north, I look to her for encouragement. I look to her for inspiration. She's very steadfast. She's loyal. She's true. She doesn't waver. And she's an inspiration to me spiritually, intellectually, practically, and she's always there. She's the kind of person that's always there for other people. In addition to that, she's also very, very smart, and she's very, very funny and extremely witty. What do I believe Ginger's lasting legacy will be at the Chamber? Probably the institutional knowledge that Ginger has, that she brings to the Chamber, that people, I really believe in months and years to come will say, well, if Ginger was here, she would know that. Whatever she does with all her heart, and I think people will recognize that and remember it long after she's gone.
The most important thing that I think about Ginger is her integrity. That is standing anything I've ever met. She's her honesty and her forthright. She tells you exactly how she feels. It's like saying, how do I look? And she goes, not bad. I go home and change. I mean, she's that good. I mean, and she just has so many wonderful experiences that she builds from. Her faith, I love that part of her, and her care for her sister, and the care for the community. I mean, that's very important, and how she truly, truly loves her job at the Chamber. And I think of what Ginger is going to leave here at the Chamber. I'll call it the water fountain conversation. There probably won't be a day that goes by somebody won't say, what did Ginger do? Every time there was any kind of the vastness of our Scranton Chamber, she knows every nook and cranny of the Chamber, plain and simple. And there's probably going to be 10 times a day somebody's going to say, what would Ginger do? Geez, we called Ginger. So I think that's her legacy.
In the transition between Austin Burke and Bob Durkin, I said to her one day, Virginia, you know, how are we doing with the transition? And she said, well, Dave, it took me 25 years to straighten out Austin. I don't know what kind of a project Bob is going to be. And I said, well, and you know, she was joking, of course. But, you know, that is Virginia, the person who really keeps things on the straight and narrow. I think Virginia's legacy will be how our economy really has so improved and how our area is thriving. You can say, well, there's many factors, and there certainly are, but Virginia has been key in the work she has done with the Chamber to make it happen. God bless you, Virginia. Many happy years in retirement.
My biggest pet peeve is when people don't put things back where they should put them back, where they belong. Because the next time somebody's looking for that particular thing, it won't be in its usual spot, and that's because someone did not put them back. Well, my role at the Chamber is very different today from how it was when I started. When I first started working there in 1965, I was the secretary to 3 gentlemen who were called the Industrial Development Department. And I basically did all things secretarial for them, typing letters, arranging meetings, travel schedules, things like that. Oh, what am I going to miss least? The stress, getting up early, being super organized. I'm looking forward to not having to be organized. I think I'll miss contact with people, the staff, the members of the board, just people in general, and kind of like being on the ground floor of stuff, so that, you know, I was there, for example, when they were first thinking about building Montage, and I was there when they first thought about building the mall at Steamtown. So those things I will miss.